The Winchester Mansion, Origins of the Haunted Labyrinth. In the twilight of the 19th century, amidst the din of the Industrial Revolution and the constant murmur of death, a woman emerged whose grief and terror would forever mark an American legend. Sarah Winchester, widow of the famed inventor of the world's most famous rifle, inherited a fortune and, it is said, an unfathomable curse. Beset by the countless lawsuits and tragedies attributed to her late husband's guns, Sarah became obsessed with the idea that the spirits of those who had fallen because of the Winchesters sought revenge. At a time when spirituality and supernatural omens were taken seriously, her neighbors whispered that her immense grief had unhinged her mind, driving her to seek refuge from these restless souls. Convinced that the only way to placate the spirits was through relentless construction, she isolated herself in 1884 by moving to a secluded plot of land in Santa Clara, California. There, Sarah built a modest home that, over the years, morphed into something much more sinister. It was said that, on the coldest nights, she could be seen by the window, her eyes empty but alight with a secret terror, attentive to the whispers of those who cried out to be heard. Each wing added to her abode was interpreted as a desperate attempt to confuse the spirits, creating an impenetrable labyrinth where no ghost could find a way out. Local legends soon began to circulate. Some said that Sarah had made a pact with the dark forces, giving up her soul for an eternal building. Others claimed that the mansion was cursed, its foundations echoing with the wails of the damned. On silent nights, tales were heard of strange lights and ownerless voices emerging from within the property. One elderly neighbor eerily recalled how, one night, Sarah, illuminated only by a dim lantern, wandered the endless corridors as if in dialogue with unseen presences. It was as if the house were alive. Every creak, every groan of its walls told the story of souls trapped in an eternal labyrinth. Thus began the legend of the Winchester Mansion, a building that defied logic, a monument to death and despair. Over the years, the mansion expanded without a definite plan. Room after room, staircase after staircase, and corridors that seemed to defy architecture. The design was chaotic. Doors with no destination, windows that opened onto solid walls, and staircases that got lost in hidden passages. Those who dared to enter claimed to have entered a veritable hell on earth, where every turn promised more terror. Rumors multiplied. Some visitors claimed to hear sad laughter and sobbing mixed with the creaking of aging wood. One of the most chilling tales recounted the experience of a guest who, on a stormy night, discovered a room not recorded on any floor plan. The walls were covered with cryptic symbols, and, hanging crookedly, a weathered portrait of Sarah Winchester seemed to follow him with its gaze. When he tried to leave, the door had disappeared, replaced by a solid wall, forcing him to desperately search for an exit in a maze of shadows and dampness. Inside the mansion, the corridors seemed to move. Shadows danced, and the temperature dropped sharply in certain stretches, as if the air itself were permeated with the cold of the sepulchre. Some whispered that the house was conscious, feeding on the fear of its visitors. The stories grew more disturbing. Footsteps echoing in empty rooms, doors opening into an unfathomable void, and spectral figures vanishing when viewed head-on. A local historian, after years of research, related the legend of the Mirrored Chamber. In that chamber, an ornate mirror reflected not the present, but visions of past tragedies, images of chaos, ghostly figures reliving scenes of horror and desperate faces. That chamber was said to be the key to understanding the curse that plagued the mansion. Despite the terror, Winchester Mansion became a magnet for paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, and the curious. Recording equipment, cameras, and detectors were set up to capture evidence, but what they recorded, unexplained voices, blurred figures, and abrupt temperature drops, only deepened the enigma. At the heart of the legend stands Sarah Winchester herself, a woman consumed by grief and obsession. Some believed her relentless construction was an attempt to confound the vengeful spirits of those killed by Winchester weapons. Others saw it as a manifestation of guilt and paranoia, driven by voices demanding retribution. Draped in mourning black and seldom seen by outsiders, Sarah became a spectral figure, a symbol of the eternal struggle between life and death. Even after her death in 1922, it was rumored that her spirit still roamed the halls, her presence felt in every creaking floorboard and unexplained draft of cold air. Over time, the mansion became a monument to her tormented soul. Pilgrims, investigators, and adventurers flocked to experience its oppressive atmosphere, hoping to catch a glimpse of the enigmatic Sarah. Some claimed to feel her presence, a soft whisper in the dark, a fleeting glimpse of a figure in mourning, the faint scent of roses mingled with decay. Yet, as the mansion aged, the tales grew darker. Visitors who never returned, invisible hands that seemed to pull them into hidden rooms where past and present merged in terror, and a distorted sense of time trapping all within its walls. One paranormal researcher, Michael, recounted that on a stormy night while reviewing security footage, he captured a fleeting, blurred image of Sarah Winchester gliding silently down a narrow corridor. Though the image was ephemeral, her sorrowful eyes seemed to plead for redemption or warn of the perils of disturbing the dead. The mansion's architecture itself tells a tale of perpetual torment, a labyrinth of endless corridors and twisted staircases, as if designed to trap its occupants in a cycle of despair, much like Sarah's own mind, forever imprisoned in grief. Many say the structure is the physical manifestation of the Winchester curse, sustained by the suffering of those long gone. As the final rays of the sun vanish behind the horizon, the Winchester mansion takes on an otherworldly glow. Visitors, whether drawn by curiosity or seeking answers, find themselves enveloped by a profound sense of dread. The walls pulse with memories of untold suffering, and in the secluded courtyard some claim to hear the faint strains of a melancholic piano tune, a lament for lost souls. Thus, the legend endures. The mansion, with its ever-changing labyrinthine corridors, stands as a grim reminder of a woman who tried to escape her past only to become one with it. Sarah Winchester's curse lives on in every creak, every flicker of dim light, and every whisper in the dark, promising that those who enter may never truly leave.